Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm going to start a devlog series on my game I'm making called All Out War, which is essentially based on an old Command and Conquer game called Renegade. And I've always been fascinated with that type of style of a gameplay, where you got two teams, you got a base here and a base over here, and the goal is for one team to completely destroy the other team's base. So, for example, there's going to be a green army and a red army. For now, let's just say this is green right here. This is placeholders, and this is red. If the green army comes over here and just wipes out these bases, then that team wins. The the concept is pretty simple, right? So, but I've always enjoyed that type of a gameplay. And currently, I've been just doing a lot of the network programming. I'm using a on the asset store called TNet. It's always been one of my favorite types of network packages because this gets the start, the gist of the start of it done. So you can have the connections with URP and TCP and all that. Um, So I've been doing a lot of, let's see, right here, drag this over. Some of the biggest things I like to do is to add my own files. So for example, if I open up structures and bring it over to the screen, you'll see like green power plant health, the armor, repair rate. If you want to like completely rebuild it, it'll cost us most of the, the in-game money, that kind of stuff. But I've been doing a lot of it, like setting up infantry, so you can modify everything with a text file. I've always liked that about the older games where you can sit there and you can, for example, this is how you spawn. Well, it's gonna be how you spawn. I haven't actually done it in the game yet. I'm just getting stuff parsed into the server itself. So, for example, let's say you want to spawn in as a shotgunner, which would be this one right here, right? You just copy this ID and you just paste it there and save. So I like little modifications like that. Everything in terms of the server will be modifiable, such as like researches. I'm going to have things called research trees. So essentially, let's say go back to the game. This right here is just your base, the normal standard base that you'll have, right? But like an RTS, let's say it was an RTS game, right? You can sit there and build another structure. So, for example, if you want to build an advanced power plant, if you and your team commit enough resources, a new building will spawn right here, and you'll have another structure, right? So it's kind of like an RTS, but it's going to be in third person, and you'll be able to upgrade your base over time, but it'll take like a team effort. So everyone will have to commit resources. In this case, the currency so far in the game will be called scrap, which would be like metal and stuff. So there's that. All right. Um, every team, so for example, this is green. I already have this stuff right here parsed into the server, all this data. Um, Greens would be more like heavy armor and, more just advanced. So, for example, you'll have advanced scrap recycling, which, players earn more scrap. Each drop the scrap plant is deposited and refined. And you'll have logistics, well, it'll unlock the various resource trees, which, give faster supply lines and stuff like that. Radar. So far, this stuff is not set in stone what I'm going to be putting. I just sort of just put stuff for now, so I have goals to work towards. Yeah, and like the red, there'll be more of a futuristic but more lighter armor, like robotics, antimatter defense shields, which would stop like the nuclear missiles from the Green Army, antimatter warheads, that kind of stuff, stealth technology. Yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff. I'm not using tier 1 no more. That's when I was going to try something else. Close that out. I'm not currently using that. Close that for now. I'll save it though. Um, this would be like the server stuff itself right here. So you'll have your server name, password, which ports, how many players. Default will be 124, but you can put as many as you want. This would be a starting currency each player starts with. And how many vehicles do we want to cap out per team? I just put 12 for now until I can, get balancing, right? Because you still want players to play as infantry and stuff, right? And then you got hardcore mode. So simply, if players die, they lose their currency. Currently, that's all it's going to do, at least in terms of the just core mechanics, right? Some of these other settings I hear might change that later. And for example, this allow donations. We can donate your credits or your scrap, should I say, to other players that they need money to do something. Which if you turn that to 0, you can turn that off. Hardcore mode also turns this off. That's one of the things I was talking about right there. If hardcore mode is turned to 1, which means on, this will be turned off because obviously you want it to be harder, right? Allow team swapping. I have that turned off by default because that could be very abused. This would be how much scraps players get per tick rate interval, which currently would be, if you have a power plant, every 2 seconds. If the power plant dies, it'll be like every 4 seconds, unless you change this. Um, Disable scraps. Okay, so if you're like advanced, like let's go back to the master research tree. For example, if this is destroyed, your advanced scrap recycling, then you'll stop receiving scraps every X amount of seconds, so whichever you set it to in the game. You can turn off or turn on global text chat, which I recommend not having on because people can be telling the other team the information and stuff. Do you want to allow team chat? Because some servers might just want Discord, right? So, or any other service like that. And this would be the research rate multipliers, which means, let's say you put 500 scrap in, right, in your green army. You change this to 2, that 500 would be considered like 1,000 instead. I'm just mainly working on just a bunch of parsing data, like the infantry and all that, which is currently working. I still got to work on the infantry. Um, so like this parses the settings files, research tree. You can the red and green armies, the master research tree, which some structures, or not structures, but researchers will require prerequisites, so you can't just build them all at once, right? Infantry units. I'm starting to get the parsing working. I just stopped it right here. I just put continue for now. It's not going to just be like that later. Um, so each unit, like an infantry unit, will have a price in terms of scrap. It'll be their name and the ID. So for the spawn types and all that. If you want to have like an all sniper server, you can just make you spawn in as a sniper, for example, right? Um, this right here, the prerequisites for the infantry. If you spawn in as an infantry type, this won't matter. Global research. This is the rates multipliers, like I was talking about in the settings file. Have an enum for armor types. So certain things that you don't want to be damaged, you can just set to invulnerable, right? Um, you can damage structures, obviously, and this would be the part where if a munitions of some sort hits like a structure or a player or anything, right? Then you just call this on the server. Healing and um, yeah, this is for the armor right here, and this is for the health. Because hardcore mode, I believe I have it set to where you can heal only the armor of the structure, but not the health. So if the health reaches like 10%, you can repair the armor, but you're not going to be able to fully heal the health. So where it's at is where it's at in terms of health. But I could be wrong. I don't remember. I've been doing so much of this coding that I don't entirely remember everything I've been doing. um, this is just a player. Each player will have a unique ID. It'll keep track of if it's like on Steam or Xbox, or if I even put it on Xbox. There's no promises, right? Um, this would be the TNet player package right here. Their name. I set the ID to -1. That way I know they're not anything at the current moment. This would be any vehicles they own, so they can like lock it and stuff, so other players on your team can't just steal it from you unless you unlock it. Health, armor, weapon ID, so what's their starting weapon, right, that they're going to spawn with. What's their current team? This is just currently just -1 because that's not even a team. Um, Scraps, that's the currency. And the CMS is the player. That's how the server would communicate with you, which I just haven't put it in there yet. But that's pretty much it. It's just a lot of getting data from text files because I want everything to be modifiable by the server owner itself. And I enjoy that kind of stuff because that's what got me into game development. When I was a kid, was being able to modify Command and Conquer games and stuff. But yeah, I know this wasn't much of an in-game like type of devlog, but it's just the first one. I'm just getting everything started. And if y'all haven't seen it, I've posted a video just maybe 30 minutes to an hour ago how to get this low poly terrain like this. Essentially, it's built into Unity now. You just have to make a simple shader and then modify the actual terrain with not doing it the old school way where you change the height map resolution. Leave that alone. But now they have maximum complexity limit. That's how you can really change like the actual polygon look without actually changing your resolution, which is pretty cool. I've been waiting for a feature like this for a long time. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this little devlog for All Out War. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. And I hope y'all enjoy the progress I show y'all over time. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.